good people? What is going on? Another episode of the All Go Podcast. I'm your host, Desmond. Thank you for tuning in. Appreciate it. One side note is the last two videos I've done have done much better than most of my other videos do. So I'm not quite sure why, but if you watched it, any of those last two videos on, was it Jair Alexander and I think it was the Anzalone video, but thank you. Greatly appreciate it. Wanted to do a quick video to talk about what I think is the best NFL conference right now. I'm sorry, conference, division. The best NFL division. And I think there are some arguments for other divisions, right? When you look at the AFC North, now I know the Cleveland Browns are there, and they are a bit of a mess. But you got Baltimore, who is, perennially one of the better teams in the NFL, especially the AFC, right? They were just, the 1 seed 2 years ago. Were a pretty high seed, if I can remember, last year. But very formidable team. The Bengals, who, since Joe Burrow has been there, has typically been a pretty good team in the AFC. Now, last season, they missed the playoffs. And I believe the year before that, they made the playoffs. But I think year before that, they missed. So I think they went miss this season, made it last year, and missed the year before, if I've got it correctly. And then you've got the Steelers, who they do make the playoffs on a somewhat regular basis, but they haven't won a playoff game since 2016. That's, been all the talk about Tomlin and Rodgers and all that good stuff and what's going to happen. But my opinion, and I also have some homerism baked into there too, I do truly think it's the NFC North. Part of that reason is you look at, granted, I know with the Chicago Bears, they just fired Eberflus, but I think most people say that they have a pretty solid roster. If Caleb can just be okay, I think they're going to be a pretty good team. I think they'll probably hover around 500. You got the Detroit Lions, and what I was getting to was, two of their coordinators got head coaching jobs in the NFL. That is, to me, that shows at least some level of competence, right? In general, you'd say, yeah, that shows that that team is doing the right things and those guys are really solid candidates. And, 3 years ago, I wouldn't have been upset if Aaron Glenn was fired. And he did a great job of turning that defense around, turning things around. I think we increased our personnel a bit, but that job he did, especially at the end of the regular season, that Minnesota Vikings game being probably the highlight there. What he did with that defense, with the injuries that we had, was pretty remarkable. So I think he deserves all the credit in the world for that. But also Ben Johnson, he was a highly sought-after name for the past two hiring cycles. He decided that I think he didn't want the Carolina Panthers, or I think it was the Saints, I'm sorry. Saints were flying in, wanted to interview him, wanted to interview Glenn. He said no while they were flying there. It was kind of weird. But nonetheless, he's been hired. I think Dan Campbell, his not only results, but also his reputation of what he has done with the Lions since getting there, I think it, shows what it just shows the track record of what he's built. The Detroit Lions were the 1 seed this past season. I know they lost their first playoff game, which really stinks, but I think it shows a certain level of consistency. Now, you need to win a playoff game for sure this year, and try to build on that, 2 seasons ago where you were in the NFC Championship game up by 17, if I'm not mistaken, in the second half. Even though you were on the road, that was a situation that I don't care what head coach it is, they would take that every single 100 times out of 100. It's like, wait, I've got a 3-score lead in the second half of a title game to go to the Super Bowl. Yes, and 49ers made some really big plays. The Lions helped them a bit with making some mistakes, but is what it is. The Minnesota Vikings. I mean, I know they lost their playoff game as well, but I mean, they have the either second or third best record in the NFC, but because they lost to the Lions, they had to get bumped down to the 5 seed. But I mean, they were a formidable team all season. I think of their 3 losses were 2 to the Lions and 1 to the Eagles, if I'm not mistaken. And then the Packers. I think the Packers are a solid, a cornerstone organization. But when you look at like what Matt LaFleur has done, they've just been consistently really, really good, really solid. 10-11 wins. A couple years ago, they, dog walked the Cowboys on the road. Jordan Love he's been a bit up and down, but I think we can all agree he's been a pretty good quarterback. So I think that division is the best division in football. So we'll see what happens. I mean, 3 playoff teams in one division is it's not all that common. And did the Packers make it last year? I think they did. I'm trying to remember now. I'll have to look at it. But I think nonetheless they were, a pretty solid team. And you had Jordan Love, who missed a couple weeks with the groin injury, and it got kind of weird, because they were still winning, and Malik Willis was starting, who, when he had his tenure with the Titans, this guy, not quite sure he's an NFL quarterback. But Matt LaFleur was able to get the best out of him, and they were pretty solid in that big stretch of games there. So that would be my take on it. Curious to yours. Also, if you feel like it, feel free to shoot me a question in the DMs via Instagram. It is at All Go Podcast. The logo is the same as you see down there in the corner. So shoot me a DM. I'll answer your question. I'll even give you a shout out, because why not? I greatly appreciate it. But that's it for me. Peace.